The ocean is one of the most dangerous places on our planet. Although the exact number of people missing at sea each year is unknown, it has been determined that between 1,500 and 2,000 sailors vanish every year, while around 400 people have disappeared from cruise ships in the last 20 years. Many instances of those lost at sea are still unsolved, with the harsh ocean waters being difficult to navigate and search. In today's episode, we will be examining just a few such cases as we take a look at 3 people who went missing at sea.
But first, I'd like to thank Aura for sponsoring today's episode. We cover a lot of cases here on Cold Case Detective, and sometimes the perpetrator seems to get off scot-free without ever paying for their crimes. But what if we told you that people are doing that right now to you? Those spam calls offering you the newest phone deal, or emails trying to get you to sign up for some questionable product, all stem from one initial issue: data brokers. While data brokers are legal, they are making a profit by selling your data to the highest bidder. Today's sponsor can help you fight back. Aura can identify data brokers and get them to take your name and number off the list. Not only that, Aura combines multiple services into one, and you can try them out for free for 2 weeks by using our link in the description, aura.com/coldcasedetective. It's easy to use and means you can access a VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, antivirus, and more, all for one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping your data safe online and stop the people profiting from your personal data. Use our link down in the description to try it out today and start your 2-week free trial. Have a look and see how much of your data is out there and available on the dark web. Take control of your data with Aura.
Patrick McDermott. Patrick Kim McDermott was born in Seoul, South Korea in September 1956. He was quickly put up for adoption following his birth and taken in by an American family when he was just 2 years old. As an adult, Patrick began working as a cameraman. In 1992, he married Yvette Nipa, an actress known for her roles in 80s and 90s TV shows such as RoboCop and 21 Jump Street. However, the union was short-lived. In 1994, the pair began proceedings for divorce. Later, following his disappearance, many of the issues surrounding their divorce, Patrick's financial status, and his issues as a father came to light. At the time of the couple's 1994 divorce, the father of one owed $800 a month in child support, and in April 2005, he was ordered to make all outstanding payments. Furthermore, in 2000, he filed for bankruptcy while owing around $31,000 to creditors. It was also noted that in 2002, Yvette and Patrick had fought over visitation rights, with Yvette stating in a petition that her ex-husband had a lack of parenting skills, often encouraging their son to play hooky, adding that he also had issues controlling his temper. Shortly after his divorce, Patrick began dating 70s pop star and Grease actress Olivia Newton-John. Their relationship is largely described as being on and off, and continued for around 9 years until Patrick disappeared in the summer of 2005. On June 30th, Patrick vanished from a fishing charter boat near San Pedro, Los Angeles. The boat was named Freedom and had left the marina for a 22-hour overnight fishing trip. Patrick often participated in overnight fishing trips. He was one of 23 passengers and crew aboard the boat and had decided to take the trip alone. Reportedly, no head count was carried out when the passengers disembarked at the end of the trip, but staff found his belongings, including his car keys, passport, and wallet, left behind. Investigators would later discover his car, still near the marina, where it had been left the previous day. Though Patrick's belongings had been found on board, the staff did not consider the possibility that something had happened to the 48-year-old, instead believing the items had simply been forgotten about and left behind. They were subsequently placed with lost property. It wasn't until July 6, 2005, 1 week after the trip, that his family noticed his absence when he didn't turn up to a pre-arranged event, and even then, a further 5 days passed before he was reported missing. The disappearance of Patrick, best known until this point for his relationship with Olivia Newton-John, wasn't reported on by the media until around a month later. Though Patrick's disappearance was investigated, an inquiry by the Coast Guard Investigative Service was closed on September 15, 2006, just over 1 year after he vanished. The inquiry, quote, did not find any evidence of criminal action, suicide, accident, or hoax in the disappearance of McDermott. While a separate investigation was carried out by the US Coast Guard, it appeared to find nothing of note at the time of the case's closure in 2008. Both investigations simply concluded that Patrick had been lost at sea. In the years since Patrick went missing, there have been numerous rumors and theories as to what became of him. The case was featured on prominent true crime shows and news networks, including America's Most Wanted and Dateline NBC. Investigators from the latter, headed by private investigator Philip Klein, went to Mexico in search of Patrick, under the belief that he was hiding out there, having faked his death to get out of financial difficulties. They claimed that he owed around $8,000 to his ex-wife for child support, and even created a fake website which logged and mapped visitors' data. They hoped this website could be used to lure in and trap Patrick. They noted that there had been over 20 sightings of Patrick in Mexico and Central America at the time of their inquiry. Then, in April 2009, Klein and his team claimed that they had successfully located Patrick and that he was living in Mexico under the name Pat Kim in Puerto Vallarta. They added that they had been contacted by a representative of his and that they had deemed the representative to be credible. Notably, you may recognize the name Philip Klein from one of our other videos, 3 eerie missing 411 cases that will leave you scratching for answers, in which we featured the case of Dior Kunz Jr., a toddler who vanished from Idaho in 2015. Philip Klein was hired to work on Dior's case, but later left the investigation before being rehired. He has a poor reputation, with several accusations of harassment against him, and he has had several defamation lawsuits brought against him too. Patrick's ex-wife, Yvette, took issue with Klein's involvement in the case. In March 2012, she wrote to Jeff Bezos, who was still Amazon's CEO at the time, and asked him to stop promoting Klein's book, claiming that Klein was a, quote, well-known serial liar who was simply looking to be famous at the expense of an unfortunate tragedy in our lives. She added that while Klein repeatedly promised he could prove her ex-husband was alive, neither Yvette nor Patrick's family ever received such evidence. In 2016, Klein's claims were pushed again when he spoke exclusively with Woman's Day magazine, claiming that Patrick, who would have been 59 at the time, was living in Sayulita, an isolated Mexican village, and that he was probably now working in the yachting industry for a high-profile family down there. A year later, it was reported that Patrick was alive when a photo was submitted to an Australian magazine named New Idea. The photo showed a woman and a man, the latter of whom resembled Patrick McDermott. However, 3 months later, the photo was debunked by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, who discovered that the couple in the photograph had come forward and identified themselves. None of the reports from Philip Klein that Patrick is still alive have ever been substantiated by law enforcement. He is still considered a missing person. Holly Roth. Born Helen Marjorie Roth in 1916 in Chicago, Illinois, Holly Roth was raised in the US and Europe, alternating her time between New York City, New York, and London, England, due to her father's job. She attended various schools and also spent some time being taught by private tutors. Even though she was moved to and from the state often, she considered herself a New Yorker and would ultimately graduate from James Madison High School in the borough of Brooklyn. She went on to study at several universities before obtaining a Bachelor of Arts. For a short time, Holly worked as a fashion model, but soon gained employment as a writer and editor for newspapers and magazines. She eventually began writing her first book, The Content Assignment, which, in 1953, was serialized in condensed form under the title The Girl Who Vanished. Holly would go on to author several more books and short stories in the spy fiction and detective fiction genres, working under the pen names P.J. Merrill and K.G. Ballard, finding some success. One of her stories was nominated for an Edgar Award, but she is considered to be an underrated writer whose work was often overlooked during the 1950s. In 1960, aged 44, Holly married Joseph Franta, a 32-year-old man with a Swiss passport who was born and raised in Prague, in the Czech Republic. The pair had met in Geneva, Switzerland, when Joseph had been working with the International Labour Organization. Later that year, Joseph purchased a 49-foot ketch, a type of sailboat, named the Visa, which he paid $8,500 for. The Visa had been built in Norway in 1912 and weighed 25 tons. Joseph subsequently put the boat in his wife's name, and Holly spent around $20,000 on renovations. Holly's brother, Frank, who last saw his sister just before she tied the knot, noted that the newly wedded couple spent time living in Paris and Mallorca for several years, but spent the last year of her life living aboard the Visa. She wrote to her editor at the end of 1963, stating, "We keep trying to cross the ocean. One thing or another stops us, but we remain happy enough." In another letter, one written to her brother on March 30th, 1964, she claimed that while she wanted to return home to New York, her husband was having extreme difficulty entering the US as the CIA was blackballing him. Several months later, on October 8th, Holly and her husband left Gibraltar, planning to make the trip to the Canary Islands on the Visa. However, things grew difficult when, 2 days later, the weather turned and they became caught in a storm. Then at around 4 a.m. on October 11th, Holly vanished. Joseph stated that the couple had been 20 miles north of Safi, a city in western Morocco, when a force suddenly shook the boat, throwing him against the wall below deck. At the time, Holly had been above deck. When he scrambled to check on her, he noticed a 45-foot-long, grey-coloured sailing ship moving away from the Visa. Joseph believed he saw someone in the water wearing a life jacket and called out, but received no answer. He subsequently steered the boat in the direction of the body and threw out a buoy, but to no avail. He then twice tied a line to himself and descended into the water to try and locate Holly, but he failed to find her. Back on board the boat, he fired flares and a gun to attract fishing boats he'd spotted earlier before making radio contact with Safi. No one immediately came to his or Holly's rescue. It wasn't until around noon that a fishing trawler arrived and the Visa was towed to the city. Several boats searched for Holly in the area where she is presumed to have fallen overboard, but no trace of her was found. A later report listed the 48-year-old as having died due to an accident, presumed lost at sea and drowned. The following month, a source at the US State Department noted that the investigation into Holly's disappearance was still open, though it was reported that Moroccan police had closed the case 2 days later, listing her death as accidental. Joseph stayed in Morocco for a short while afterwards, attempting to sell the Visa, which had sustained almost $6,000 worth of damage during the alleged collision with the other sailboat. It is unclear if Joseph ever managed to sell the Visa, or what became of him following Holly's disappearance. Holly's body has never been recovered. Sarm Heslop. 41-year-old Sarm Heslop was last seen at a restaurant on the island of St. John, one of the US Virgin Islands, with her boyfriend, Ryan Bain, 44, on March 7th, 2021. The couple had met the previous year over Tinder, and together had taken up work on a 47-foot-long catamaran Bain owned, named the Siren Song. The catamaran was moored in a bay off the western coast of St. John and was available to be rented for private charters. Sarm worked on the watercraft as a cook. Before this, she had been a flight attendant with the airline Flybe. On the evening of March 7th, Sarm and Bain had dinner together. According to COVID-19 restrictions at the time, they should have left the restaurant by 10 p.m. and returned to the Siren Song, moored 200 feet from the shore in Cruz Bay. This meant that the two should have taken a dinghy from the shore to the watercraft. According to Bain, Sarm was asleep by 10 p.m. and had vanished by 2:30, just 4.5 hours later. Upon discovering that she wasn't on board, Ryan took the dinghy out to the island to report her disappearance to the police, who, in turn, told him to call the Coast Guard. Although he eventually did, Bain waited until 11:45 a.m. to do so, a whole 9 hours later. He has never answered as to why he waited so long between finding out she was missing and contacting the Coast Guard. Sarm's family find Bain's behavior to be rather suspicious, with her father noting, "It just drives me nuts. What happened between 2 and 11:45 in the morning? He didn't shout and holler, he didn't ask for nobody, he just made a phone call to the police. There's just no answers." Adding fuel to the fire that Ryan Bain is a distrustful character is the fact that he refused to let investigators search the Siren Song. To this day, it has never been searched. He claimed that he didn't allow authorities to search the watercraft on the advice of his lawyer. More bizarrely still, Bain has repeatedly declined to be interviewed, something which has never been pushed back on, even though he is the last person to have seen Sarm alive. Sarm's phone, purse, and passport were all found on the catamaran and were handed over to authorities. Law enforcement in St. John searched the coastline using drones, divers, and scent dogs, but were unable to locate Sarm or her remains. Furthermore, they found little evidence as to what might have taken place on the night of her disappearance. The most information they gathered was from a witness who came forward around 9 days after she went missing, claiming that they heard a scream out at sea, roughly in the direction of the Siren Song, in the small hours of March 8th, around the time Sarm is believed to have gone missing. 2 weeks after she vanished, the FBI was reportedly brought in to assist with the case, although Sarm's family noted that while the FBI offered to assist, their offer was turned down. Loved ones described the 41-year-old as level-headed and a strong swimmer, claiming that it would have been hugely out of character for her to have gotten up in the middle of the night to go swimming. Another friend added, "This is someone who sailed across the Atlantic without incident, only to disappear 100 feet from the shore. The pieces in the puzzle don't add up." In a BBC News report dated November 2022, it emerged that in October, Sarm's family had written to the Virgin Islands Police Department requesting the release of CCTV that was shown to them 8 months earlier. The footage showed what appeared to be Sarm and Bain heading to a dinghy, but the police stopped the footage before seeing Sarm and Bain board his dinghy. In the letter, Brenda Street, Sarm's mother, wrote, "I would like all of it, not a shortened version shown on the day I was there on the island. This crucial bit of footage displays surroundings, people, actions, and behaviors, and information that may have been missed." It was later reported that the VIPD refused to show the parents the remainder of the tape or release it, as it would, quote, "jeopardize the ongoing investigation." Sarm's family also noted that in the CCTV, she was wearing a different outfit to what had been described by Bain. In the footage, she was wearing a skirt or shorts, not the black floral dress Bain had described. Furthermore, Sarm's parents never received the black dress when her belongings were returned to them. Other criticisms leveled at the VIPD include their failure to communicate with Sarm's family. Her mother, Brenda, told the BBC, "They just seem to try and push it under the carpet. I had an email from the VIPD a couple of weeks ago. That's the first time in 18 months. It said, 'Hope you're doing well. Have you any further information?' My relationship with the authorities is non-existent. They just ignore us. We sent a long list of questions, lawful and legal ones, but they just didn't reply. Furthermore, in 2023, it came to light that the 911 call to the Coast Guard made by Ryan Bain was not recorded. The Coast Guard claimed that this had occurred due to a fault in the system. In November 2021, the siren song was put up for sale with its name removed. Locals in Grenada, where it was moored, alerted Sarm's family to this. They called for a full forensic search of the boat before it went to new owners. This has not been carried out at the time of recording, and whether the watercraft has changed hands is unclear. Sarm Joan Lillian Heslop is still missing, and her loved ones are desperate to find some sort of closure. Sarm is originally from Southampton, England, and was 41 when she vanished in the early hours of March 8, 2020, from St. John in the Virgin Islands. Sarm is described as a white female standing at 5'8", with long, dark brown hair. She has an athletic build and a large, colourful tattoo on her shoulder consisting of a seahorse, butterfly, and flower. Anyone with information about Sarm's whereabouts can contact the Virgin Islands Police Criminal Investigation Bureau at 340-774-2211 or 340-778-2211. You can also contact the US Virgin Islands Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts and speculations, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.